Hey, what it do, guys? D back again for another video. This one is gonna be a pretty long video. Of course, like I do in a lot of my videos lately, I'm tying it into the word. Uh, bless up to the people. And whenever I teach, man, whenever I do this, I never come from a position of judgment. And I think that's so important because, as Paul said, we're working out our own salvation in trembling and fear because of the imperfections and an imperfect world that we in. And, you know, it's so much that we're all overcoming that we have no room to judge each other. You know, as Christ said, he without sin cast the first stone. So I come from a position of humility. I come from a position of studying people, studying different groups, and just trying to, combine wisdom into life and kind of break it down in a simplistic way for everybody to understand. So the bulk of this, though, which gets kind of really deep, but the bulk of this is food, and not just food from a tradition, from a sense of food in general, but food from a healthy food, healthy source of food, meaning what to eat, the right vegetables, the right stuff. I'm pretty sure people are familiar with the alkaline. I'm not talking about that, but I just want to mention that. But diet, herbs, all of that comes from the Most High, which is the beginning of it. He talked about herbs for you. Then family, I talk about the importance of people. We need each other. You need your girl needs you need your mom, you need your dad, you need your uncle, you need the elders. Like, and y'all know, if you follow this channel, that's really one of my passions, is how when you break up and disconnect families, which really combined with the push for families into these big cities, what they call these big metropolitan areas, how slowly the people started to deteriorate, whether it be from a spiritual perspective, whether it be from the dope being pushed, whether it be from the weapons being pushed, whether it be from all these different type of ways. But if you notice, the unity starts to deteriorate. The togetherness start to deteriorate. The family functions and cookouts and stuff like that start to deteriorate. And what most deteriorates? The food. So you go from if you talk to your elder, like let's say a grandmother, a grandfather, or even an aunt, they'll talk about, we went out in the field and we got that chicken. We had to plug it. We had to do it. It was hard work, but to be honest, they ate non-GMO chicken. They didn't know that, but you fast forward to 50, 60 years later, and the chicken is shot up with all type of crap. So all of this combines, in a way, and it all spiritually combines in a way. So we're going to break it down from a spiritual perspective, and then kind of go from there. One interesting thing, I talked about this before, but it's a channel that I like. Shout out to Art Fennell, even though they eat that swine, man. I don't, but they eat that swine down there in South Carolina, I think. But if you ever read the comments, a lot of people say, man, my families used to be like that. We grew up like that. But you have to ask yourself, why aren't you like that no more? Was it because of the city living? Was it because of money? Was it because of pursuit of degrees? Like, what? We got to start getting to the root of some of these things. You know what I'm saying? Because these are things that's important. Health, trying to live in harmony with each other. That's why the word talk about that. If you can, be at peace with one another. Like, you're already going to have enough troubles in this world as it is. I mean, from a multiple, different ways. You got to try to get along with each other, because you don't have time to not get along, because the world going to present its own set of problems. So we're just going to go to this word. We're going to break it down. We're going to talk a little bit about even farming, from a biblical perspective. We're going to talk about some of these things from a biblical perspective, and then, it'll be a wrap. But I know for sure, unless my phone cut off, if I don't have enough data, this one's going to be probably at least 20 minutes probably. And I'm going to just tie it in. So family, my one thing about my channel, I don't do a lot of editing, all that fancy stuff. It's just I make videos. I just got a light, so the lighting a little bit better. But, it is what it is, man. I hope the message is good, and I hope it's pure. So we're going to go to that word. Like I always say, we're going to go to the beginning. And I'm a big fan of Genesis. We're going to go to Genesis. And we're gonna start at Genesis 1 and 11. We're gonna start at Genesis 1 and 11. Kind of back so I'm not too close to the camera. It says, then God said, let the land produce vegetation, seed-bearing plants and trees on the land that bear fruit with seed in it. And man, that's a deep point within itself, because if you notice, if you go to the store, you can't find grapes with seed in it. A lot of these foods, they're GMOing and tampering with and scientifically messing with, which that really goes right against God, to be very honest. But that's a nugget right there, man. Seed-bearing plants. It talks about how important seeds are, and the power with seeds is also production. And man, I don't want to get too deep, but seeds also goes into humans. If you don't have a seed, you don't have a production, you don't have people. But anyway, let's continue. Seed-bearing plants and trees on the land that bear forth fruit with seed in it, according to their various kinds, all type of fruits and stuff. And it was so, the land produced vegetation, plants bearing seed according to their kinds, and trees bearing fruit with seed in it according to their kinds. And God saw that it was good, and that was evening, and then there was the morning, and the third day. So we're gonna skip there. We're gonna go to Genesis 2. Let's go Genesis 1 and 29. Let's go Genesis 1 and 29. Then God said, I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the whole earth, and every tree that has fruit with seed in there. Boy, that's a nugget. I don't know if y'all getting that. And that's not what I want to talk about, but I keep saying that. He keeps talking about the seed in it. He said, I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the whole earth, and every tree that has fruit with seed in it. They will be yours for food. That's a nugget. They will be yours for food. And we're gonna continue. Yeah, we jumping around. Genesis 2 and 8, because this is ultimately what I want to talk about. Now the Lord God, Yah, the Most High God, creator of heaven and earth, had planted a garden in the east in Eden, and there he put the man he formed. He put the man he formed. So in other words, God put him in there, and ultimately one of the things you see with that is, which ultimately when you look farther, which is Genesis 2 and 15, the Bible talks about that God took the man and he put him in the garden to work it and to take care of it. When you separate a people from their different callings, whether it's fishing, whether it's farming, whether it's wine making, whether it's clothes, soap making, whether it's their own language teaching, you take a little bit away from who they truly are. And one thing I ask myself, especially if you're from the down south, even if the people, the children and grandchildren migrated to these big cities, our grandparents grew food. Our grandparents knew about watermelon. They knew about these type of fruits. And not only that, I'm gonna go a step deeper. A lot of our forefathers were cowboys. That's where the word come from. Look it up, cowboys. The boy was to make a mockery of the men because they were great at what they do. They were ranchers. They knew about horses. They knew about animals. They knew about that type of stuff. So the point I'm making with this particular lesson right here is, and we're gonna continue to talk about it, but God put him in there to take care of the garden. Let's say God is the CEO. He designed that job for men to say, take care of this garden, take care of these animals and these herbs and stuff. It's no different than today. But it's different because they want it to be different because they control the economy. But the point I'm making is, get back to that beginning. We have to get back to that beginning. So let's continue. And I want to drop something else. And this one ties right into it as well. But yeah, guys, we got to get back to learning about food, learning about nutrition, because I'm going to be very real with y'all. I'm going to be very real, man. The food is pumped with sodium. It's pumped with high sugar, cholesterol. The chicken, the meats are pumped with stuff. And then, chemicals in here and chemicals in there. At some point, the people have to understand what's going on so they can understand what they're fighting against. That's why I always say something very important. I say the people don't have time to fight amongst each other. You hear about these gender wars, and a lot of this stuff is contrived because they know how to keep the people fighting. You got to look and say, baby, this is what you good at and this is what I'm good at. We're going to help each other. You do some things I don't like, I do some things you don't like, but we in it because we have to survive, and that's the mentality that people have to have. Go with me, y'all. Go with me. Oh, this is some good stuff, man. Go with me to the book of Genesis. We still in that Genesis, that beginning, that we still in that. Go to Genesis 41. Yeah. This is now we're going to get to the meat of it. Go to Genesis 41. And we're going to start at verse 1. When 2 full years had passed, this is about Joseph. When 2 full years had passed, Pharaoh had a dream. He was standing by the Nile when out of the river there came up 7 cows, sleek and fat. They grazed upon the reeds. After them, 7 other cows, ugly, gaunt, came up out of the Nile and stood beside those on the riverbank. And the cows that were ugly and gaunt or ate up the 7 sleek, fat cows. Then Pharaoh woke up. He fell asleep again, and he had a second dream. 7 heads of grain, healthy and good, were growing on a single stalk. After them, 7 other heads of grain sprouted, thin and scorched by the east winds. The thin heads of grain swallowed up the 7 healthy full heads. Then Pharaoh woke up. It had been a dream. He was troubled by that. He sent for all the magicians and wise men of Egypt. Pharaoh told them his dream, but no one could interpret it for him. We're going to skip down because this is a story where if you grew up in the church, you know this, but it's really very important right now. So let's go back. He was telling Joseph his dream, and okay, let's go to Genesis 41, and then we're gonna go to 25, verse 25. Then Joseph said to Pharaoh, "The dreams of Pharaoh are one and the same. God has revealed to Pharaoh what he is about to do. The 7 good cows are 7 years, and the 7 good heads of grain are 7 years. It is one and the same dream. The 7 lean, ugly cows that came up afterward are 7 years, and so are the 7 worthless heads of grain scorched by the east wind. There are 7 years of famine." And let's see. Let's see. I wanna. Okay, let's continue. Let's go to verse 30. But 7 years of famine will follow them. Then all the abundance in Egypt will be forgotten, and the famine will. Let's go back to 28, guys. Genesis 41 and 28. It is just as I said to Pharaoh. God has shown Pharaoh what he is about to do. 7 years of great abundance are coming throughout the land of Egypt, but 7 years of famine will follow them. Boy. 7 years of abundance and 7 years of famine. Let's skip down to verse 41. So Pharaoh said to Joseph, "I hereby put you in charge of the whole land of Egypt." Then Pharaoh took his signet ring from his finger and put it on Joseph's finger. Joseph was 30 years old when he entered the service of Pharaoh king. And Joseph went out from Pharaoh's presence and traveled throughout Egypt. He was almost like an ambassador. During the 7 years of abundance, the land produced plentiful. Joseph collected all the food produced in those 7 years of abundance. That's the lesson. During the 7 years of abundance, the land produced plenty. Joseph collected all the food produced in the 7 years of abundance in Egypt and stored it in the cities. In each city, he put food grown in the field surrounded it. A field surrounded it. Joseph stored up huge quantity of grain like the sand on the sea. It was so much that he stopped keeping records because it was beyond measure. I don't even remember reading that before. Wow. It was so much that he stopped keeping record because it was beyond measure. Before the years of famine came, 2 sons were born. And we're going to end at that. But see, this food, guys, we're not getting back from this food thing. God talked about growing food in Genesis, the first part. Joseph and them, and all these guys, you know, these are herdsmen, man. They know about cattle, and they know about this. These are very wise men. Joseph, here's Joseph, like the ambassador of Egypt, in essence, storing up food for a rainy day. Let's continue, guys. We're on some good stuff here. Go with me to the book of 2 Chronicles 26 and 10. That's 2 Chronicles 26 and 10. It says, Uzziah built towers. I'm pronouncing the king name. He's one of the kings I read quite a bit. But Uzziah built towers in Jerusalem at the corner gate and at the valley gate, and all the angle of the wall, and he fortified them. He also built towers in the wilderness and dug many cisterns, because he had much livestock in the foothills and in the plains. He had people working in the fields and vineyards in the hills and in the fertile lands, for he loved the soil. This man was a king, but he loved the soil. He loved the animals. He loved husbandry. He loved the fruits and all these type of things. And you know what it makes me think about? Many people, especially a couple centuries ago, especially African Americans people, they knew how to make their wine, moonshine and stuff like that. When you see these things for what you see, it'll often reveal itself to you if you know what to see. So it's very interesting that he loved that soil, and he loved what it produced, the vineyards. You hear the wine vineyards. But go study, go look up those old winemakers of old. In the backwoods of Georgia and South Carolina and North Carolina and Tennessee and Alabama, Louisiana. Go look at that history, and that history will kind of tell you what you're dealing with. Let's continue, guys. We ain't through. Hammering away on that word. Let's go to this is the last scripture. Let's go to the book of Matthew. Let's go to Matthew 24. And this is really right what's going on. Let's go to Matthew 24 and 4. They say Jesus, I like to say Yeshua, but we call Christ, the Son of God, the living God. Let's not get cute with it. Christ answered, "Watch out that no one deceives you. For many will come in my name claiming I am the Messiah and deceive many. You will hear wars." Hold on, guys. This is too good. Let me get this phone. I'm coming back. We finna keep teaching.
Come from Great FIGX. Come from Great FIGX. Come from Great FIGX.
Hey, when you're on that word, you can't let a phone call stop you. You can't let a this stop you. You gotta keep going. So let's continue. Let's start again. Matthew 24 and 4. Christ said, "Watch out that no one deceives you." And I gotta hurry up so this video don't cut off, because we've been rolling. "For many will come in my name claiming I am the Messiah and will deceive many. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars." If you turn on the news, which you hear a lot of rumors and fear-based stuff, but you hear about wars in this country, and this country rising against this country. In fact, when I post this video today, there's a rumor of war, literally. So this is kind of interesting. Christ said, "But see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still yet to come. Nation will rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places." If you look that up right now, you will see that there will be all these are the beginning of birth pains. Then he said you'll be persecuted. I want to skip down because this part I want to talk about. "And at that time, many will turn away from the faith." That's hard. "Many will turn away from the faith and will betray each other and hate each other, and many false prophets will appear because of it to deceive people. Because of the increase of wickedness, the love of most will grow cold." That's the point of what I'm teaching. The love of most will grow cold, but the one who stands firm to the end will be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in the whole world as a testimony to all the nations, and the end will come. Guys, wow, that was really heavy, actually. That last part was really heavy. The point I raised, you say, well, what does that have to go with farming and the beginning of it and all that? Well, the beginning of it, God created what? He created Adam and he created Eve. To do these things that must be done, the people are going to have to be for and with one another. Man, woman, grandparent, I often say this lately, but we're gonna have to turn off this American dream fantasy, especially if you're gonna call yourself living right, because they're gonna make some choices where, if you want to get this job, you better do this, and these things they're coming. This is what the word says. But you better have some form of unity with those who you're close to, and it is my hope that those who you're close to are somewhat have some knowledge of these things, so they won't be deceived, because many will. Having food, having a little land, and these type of things, and having knowledge on the foods are going to be very important, because one of the things that you see, and I think the Bible talks about this, I'm not 100% sure, but it talks about mixing seed. When you begin to mix up seed, and how that's not really pleasing in the eyes of God the Most High, you're going to see the seeds been getting mixed up for the last 30, 40 years, but the mixing up of seeds, the altering of the body and the blood and the DNA, all of these things that if you read the scientific journals, you hear about, but if you don't know that, you don't know about. Even taking the seed out of a fruit or something, or mixing a lemon with an orange, all these things that they're actually not right. So the point I'm making is the people are going to have to be unified in these tough times where the love is going to go cold. And I don't know how they're going to be unified. They're going to have to meet each other where they are, and they're going to have to put the serious stuff at the forefront. I often talk about the gender wars are going to have to cease. You did this, it's going to have to cease. That's if you call yourself trying to walk on the right path. Now, if you're not on the right path, you don't want to be on the right path, then fuss and fight and sleep around, do whatever you want to. That's your prerogative. Old Testament, he say, if you want to serve these other guys, serve them. But as for me and my house, we're going to serve the true living God. It's the same principle. If the world want to do these things, eat the way they eat, go on the way they go on, I think if you're on the right path, you got to wait to do what you feel right. And we're going to have to make some decisions as a people. Are you going to give up living in a New York City or Las Vegas or LA? Are you willing to go maybe to the country? Are you willing to live on a little plot? Are you willing to do some of these things that are going to be perceived as radical to try to live in a way that's pleasing unto you and pleasing unto your family? Most cases, people don't talk about this, distracted by entertainment and so much other stuff, that people aren't actually unified, man. And that's the danger of when that love goes cold, unity goes cold. And like this, they start falling away. And what did I say when I began this message, guys? I said back in the old days, the people were a little more unified. They had a little bit more cookouts and they had organic foods. But what happened? As you got into the city, as you got into these things, the love of many grew cold. And people were no longer unified. They no longer have family functions, get it how you live. Everybody going this way, everybody going that way. And that's something that you see now. So when it comes to food, when it comes to health, when it comes to love, when it comes to family, when it comes to finance, guys, and that's another thing. The data paints the financial picture of what this country is. And I'm going to be very honest, guys. And I think I'm glad I brought this up toward the end of this message. Jobs, automation, and stuff of that nature. I literally just heard the Tesla guy say, we're not worried about cars. We're trying to make robots. This man just said this today, if I'm not mistaken. We're not worried about making vehicles. We're worried about making robots. Guys, we gotta understand what this thing is. This thing is not about a fancy BMW, a fancy car, a big house. It's not about that. And that's kind of a radical thing. But, I guess in a way that's a biblical thing. You're in this world, but you're not of this world. Christ said, fox have holes, son of man had nowhere to lay his head. It's always kind of a tough thing for those who are really trying to live that thing. But I just want to say, with the automation, with the potential loss of jobs for this next generation, there's going to have to be a lot of things on the table. And I'm saying, whether it's bartering, whether it's thrifting, there are going to be a lot of things on the table. But the only reason one can understand this is understanding it through humility and through maturity. Those are only two ways, not channels, I don't like that word, but only through means you're going to understand. Because if you're not careful, this world, it'll get you. It'll get you. And it'll get you in the sense that it'll start making you desire everything but what you're supposed to desire. We're in a time now where I don't even want to talk about it, but I'll say it in another perspective. Everybody wants to talk about the other things, but why don't nobody push nutrition? Why nobody push trees and fruits and herbal health? Everybody's pushing a certain type of medicine. You know, I'm not going to even mention it, but if you get my drift, you know what I'm talking about. Nobody's preaching this real stuff, guys. Not many, should I say. So these are serious questions we're going to have to ask ourselves, guys. We're going to have to stop judging people based on the American standard of judging and the American dream. We're going to have to see, what is it that I need? What is it that I can give? And then go forth. So think about it. Think about food. Think about the future of jobs. Think about the future of money. Think about all of this, guys. And most of all, think about God and Christ and what he said about it, and what he said would happen. If you want to read a little bit more, even Daniel, the prophecy that Daniel had, you know, the book of Daniel, you know, a lot of that word, you know, starting to come to fruition in this day and age. And I just wanted to make this video, but particularly just focus on the power of love and intimacy, which is family. You need each other to you know, to go forth. The food, the production, the importance of food. And see, if food wasn't a serious thing, which everybody should know it is, then they really wouldn't start tampering with it. And that goes back to the 60s and the 50s. Really, a lot of after World War II, a lot of that stuff started to take place. When you're talking about, you know, food getting tampered with, canning of the food, the I don't want to say atomization of the food, but kind of that creation of food, which is not food but a scientific thing. You know, a lot of that really got to take place about that 70 years ago mark. You know, because back then they were eating more of a natural food. So these are things you got to talk about with your family, guys. Like this post, comment, tell me what you think, guys, and we all better keep the Most High first. Peace, man. The video didn't cut off. We went over 20 minutes like I knew we would. Freeform, man. Semi. Peace. Signing out, y'all. Take care. God bless.